Yay! All right, everybody, technical difficulties notwithstanding, we're here. And thank you all for joining me. It's Linda Lippin here from Linda Lippin Pilates, the Pilates Teacher Mastermind, and Strong Bones. And I am really excited, actually, about today's interview. I am here with my friend Ashley Holmes. And yes, is Ashley another member of the Advanced Women's Expert Network?
Of
She
course.
is. Because all of the best women are in the Advanced Women's Expert Network, just so you all know. Um, Ashley is a holistic fertility coach. And I have had, I think I told you this, Ashley, I have had so many clients who have gone through IVF, gone through failed IVF. I've kind of watched this happen. I've watched the hormone shots. I've watched the whole thing. And for most of my clients, they're under an extraordinary amount of stress, right? So they are all working high stress jobs. They're all very high net worth. Some of them were trying to do this as single moms on their own and just, six figures like that and not a whole lot to really show for it. And so I think folks like you, who A, have been through it yourself, which you have, and B, who solved it, which you have, and now you help other women do it. So Ashley is a holistic fertility coach. She helps women struggling with infertility to release their energy blocks by connecting mind, body, and spirit to conceive naturally. Okay. Yoga and meditation are at the heart and soul of her one-to-one customized program, and she uses a holistic approach to relieve the stress of infertility by bringing the body and mind into balance and alignment. And, I've had clients, Ashley, who I told you they like went to acupuncture and the acupuncturist sent them to Pilates because literally said to them, there's no heat in your oven. No
Yeah.
heat in your oven. So you need to go make some heat. Go do some core and ab work with Linda. And, and we'll keep going with everything else and bring it together. And it works, actually.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
You need to get those chakras cleared, working, and in healthy condition so that you're balanced, so that you're not deficient or excessive in these areas.
Right. So, Ashley, why don't you start by, and you're up in Canada, are you not?
I'm west coast of Canada, so we are the opposite ends of North America, but we're making it
Yes.
work.
Yes, but we are making it work. Here we are, and that's the gorgeousness of the internet. And the gorgeousness of you being able to live where you live and still be able to work with women all over the world to
Yeah.
really kind of help them through. Tell us your story.
So I met and married my husband in New Zealand. We moved back to Canada and we struggled to conceive. And I was in my 20s and I was really surprised, but I took the traditional route that, went and saw the fertility clinic because that's all I knew how to do at that time. And it took years, but I did get there and I conceived twins. And I was very grateful for that. But the toll it took on my mind and my body and my spirit was enough for me to not want to go down that road again. So along entered yoga and meditation, and I was able to heal myself naturally, to open up my body the way it's meant to be, and to conceive naturally and find that missing piece to my unexplained infertility. We often are seeking the answers outside of us, and the answers truly are inside of us.
So that's awesome. So you actually went through both. You had the multiple births from IVF, which is often the case. And then you were able to conceive naturally.
Yes, and I'll never forget being in the fertility, doctor's office and him being like, "Do you see what I see?" And I was like, "I see two. How many do you see?" Because I knew it could be multiple, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Okay, two. I can do two. I don't know how many more I can do, but two sounds doable."
She sounds doable, and then ultimately there were three. So
Yes. ultimately there were three. And knowing that if I wanted to have, a surf van full of kids, that I could. But we are complete at three. So it's
That
that
is fabulous.
that
Now,
assurance.
how does your program work?
So the program is 1-to-1 with women, customized to them and their cycle. So they're getting the healing, the energy medicine that they need during their cycle. So following the flow and, when they're trying, offering yin yoga and chakra balancing and things like that, as well as Ayurvedic principles to help them really be nourishing their body. And then if their period does come, then giving them Reiki energy and restorative practices to help sort of restore their being to try again the next month. So it's a 4-month program to commit to get the best quality egg possible, and then you can renew monthly until you have that baby in your arms. And then we switch once you're pregnant. I just need to know, and it's prenatal care until you're on your way.
Oh, wonderful. Now, talk to me about egg quality. We don't hear that phrase a lot.
Well, so that's why setting the foundation is stable. It's really important. You've got that base, because what you're doing now is affecting the egg that's going to be released in 3 to 4 months. So it's really, taking care of you and giving you everything that you need in order to thrive. And the stress that is impacting your body is really, really wreaking havoc on your nervous system and all of you. So it's really just taking that step back and really being able to withstand whatever's coming your way, because it's not always pretty, but rising and meeting the challenge.
Did you see an increase in the number of clients coming to you during the pandemic?
I think that the pandemic has really switched to more online, right? So yeah, and people have reached out to me that I've lost touch with over the years, and it's sort of, in a way, it's been the silver lining of COVID, that more people are online, and that's why I made the switch and made the pivot, because I don't think there's any going back, and it's like, how can I help more people and have a bigger impact?
Right. So, how do the pieces of your program fit together? Are you also working with nutrition?
Yes, that's a piece as well, because obviously our tissues are nourished by what we're eating. So the way that we're fueling ourselves may not necessarily be helping us. It could be inflaming our body, and we don't want to be eating inflammatory foods for our system. We want to, be settling our system and being in our optimal state of health.
How long a day does it take?
This is just a commitment to you. So it's a commitment, but it doesn't mean you need to do yoga and meditation every day. So those are available to you if you like, but it just means taking that action. So Monday to Friday. And if one of those days slips, then you have the weekend, right? But just really committing to yourself, committing to taking the time to, you know, meditate today, do a yoga practice the next day, and perhaps a Reiki the next day, or you are managing your stress or doing relaxation techniques or journaling or something else to get everything out of your mind and body and moving and flowing, so it's not stuck energy.
Right. So, a lot of infertility we find is about stuck energy.
That's what I found was my why it was so hard for me initially. And then just, these aren't active, heated, quick moving practices. We don't need more when we're trying to get pregnant. We really sort of need less. We need to turn inward and listen to our body. And honestly, until I got pregnant, I did not listen to my body like you hear repeatedly in a yoga class, right? Move with your breath, move with your body. And it wasn't until I actually had to slow down and listen to my body because I was pregnant that it finally landed, that I finally began to breathe properly and listen to my body. So sometimes, you think you're a broken record and you've said it 5,000 times, but when you're ready and it lands, then it finally lands.
This is true. How does Reiki fit into your program? Because as you know, I'm a Usui Reiki master. Not everybody knows that because I don't always practice it all the time, but I am.
I think that it's just, I'm fascinated with energy and how really that really was a healing part of my journey. And so I just wanted to incorporate that as well. And so I feel like when you're at your lowest point in the month, that's sort of when you need that energy. That's when that needs to be given to you, right? And that's going to help you to be able to just pick yourself up out of a low vibrational energy state and keep going and keep trying and keep that hope and faith and have that support around you, because it can be a lonely journey.
It can be a lonely journey. I know, I've had good friends who have traveled, who have gone, attempted to adopt from South and Central America and had that not always work out well. Um, I have one friend who was working an extremely stressful corporate job in the fashion world here in New York for one of the major fashion houses. And basically she went to a fertility specialist, and that doctor looked at her and said, you need to leave that job.
Absolutely.
You need to leave that job. There is nothing I can do for you that's going to stick, literally and figuratively,
Yes.
unless you leave that job, because it's so much stress that your body, I mean, I do feel like when your body is under that much stress, it's almost like the way that we automatically start producing belly fat and cortisol, right? Seriously, it's like your body goes into stress mode, and our old pattern that has kept us alive for generation upon generation is stress usually means there's going to be no food. So we're just going to prepare for that. And I would think, I mean, it makes sense to me, and from an energetic perspective, and just from like a basic kind of science understanding perspective, that if your body is spending so much energy and stress on outside things, that your body's not going to be like, yeah, we should be getting pregnant right now.
Well, I remember
Um,
leaving the fertility clinic and them saying, well, that should have worked, you know? And I was like, yeah, but I did everything. And it's like, okay, we're on to the next thing. And feeling very defeated and very deflated. And like, what was wrong with me? I was doing all the things you told me to do, right? But also, until the next thing was going to arrive, it took the pressure off that I was putting on myself, on my relationship. And that's when I actually got pregnant, was not like still taking the drugs, but not having that extra pressure.
exactly. All that extra stuff, because, it basically, if your body does really think that you're starving or could die at any moment, it's not going to be like, let's bring more people into this stressful situation.
Yeah, it's so true. And I don't think we realize how much havoc it is wreaking on our body and mind and spirit. And, you know, everything else is like in survival mode. And that's how yoga and meditation really helps to get out of fight or flight mode and get into rest and digest mode. And so the more you do that and the more you practice that, then you're able to make that switch and know when you need it and give that to yourself and begin to take it from externally coming to you to internally. And that's really the empowering and impactful part.
right, is actually when you do realize that that kind of deep sense of what you're saying to yourself, that voice is actually the important one.
Yes.
Um, over the weekend, I finished Glennon Doyle's Untamed, right? And she talks about needing to be so quiet during her recovery from alcoholism, right? That she would literally go into the closet and just sit in the dark closet for 10 minutes and see what happens. And ultimately, what happens is you start to drop down inside of yourself. And ultimately, what happens is you start to listen.
Yes. Like our body is
To,
giving messages all the time, but are we listening to those messages? Like that's part of Ayurveda, like just your system in general every day, how are you digesting life? How are all of your systems working? And how are they not working? And paying attention, like being on one extreme of constipation, or you have diarrhea, or are you in the middle? Are you balanced? Are you regular? Is your period regular? Is everything flowing? Are you
Mhm.
peeing enough? Like, are you taking care of yourself instead of just functioning on autopilot?
And I even think about that, because with a lot of my clients, we talk about not just eating, but who you are when you're eating.
Oh, absolutely.
Because who you are when you're eating does make a difference in how your body's going to handle that food, absorb those nutrients, or do well with it. So if you are one of those people who eats on the run and you never sit down and you're
It's
looking at your device and you're doing a thing, and
out.
people used to complain to me when I was single, and I would go, which was like 30 years ago. It feels like a very long time ago. When I was single, and I would always go out to dinner, and I would bring a book, right? And I was a philosophy professor. It was kind of, went with the with the program. But I would just sit at dinner, drink my wine, eat my food, read my book, and have a grand old time. Um, and I have to tell you, folks who are listening, that looking at your device is not the same as reading a book. By the way, they are different, and they affect your nervous system differently. So if you find yourself consistently sitting there, like looking at things and doing things and whatever while you're eating, your body's not going to absorb that food well. I'm letting you know right now. And look at all the instances we have, right, Ashley, of reflux and GERD and all of these.
Bloating and just gas and all of the things. Is your body telling you that it's not properly digesting?
Right, exactly. So proper food. Now talk to me about chakra clearing and energy management.
Energy. So you are an energetic being, and that's the beauty of getting beyond the physical. Yoga isn't meant to be a physical practice, although it's often seen as just that. And I think that's sort of what draws people in initially. But then the more that you realize, you feel better, your body is functioning better, and you feel clearer, like that brain fog or anything like that. That is you tapping into your inner being and your energetic body. So you have 7 main ones, from the base of the spine to the crown of the head, and just bringing everything into balance and alignment, and knowing when, that scale is kind of tipped, and being able to, you know, make sure you're not staying in that place for too long, because when you're staying in that place for too long, then it's a little bit harder to get back to where you want to be. It's not that it can't happen, but the longer you stay in those patterns and habits and places, then it takes more energy to shift and move that.
Yes, and I don't think that people, everyone doesn't realize we like to do this very Western scientific approach to habit, right? Like everyone's like, yeah, it just takes 21 days to develop a habit.
No.
Oh, that's just wrong. I've done things 21 days in a row and then stopped, and then forgotten on day 22 and just never remembered again. This can happen. And I consider myself to be a relatively intelligent human. They used to let me teach university students,
Yeah,
like I can do these things. I can do hard things, um,
you
but
will.
that,
Yeah, you revert back to that pattern and that groove very easily, and it will keep showing up, and it will keep testing you, and it'll keep tempting you, and it's like, are you going here or are you not? Are you committed to, your path and what you truly want? Or, it's easy to take the path of least resistance, but it's really, you know, that's how I've got where I am is truly just being open and stop having to control everything because we're not
right,
in control. So
that's
it's,
the thing. We are not at the wheel anyway. We think we're at the wheel, but
yeah,
we're really not. So I've been also reading a lot of Michael Singer recently, which kind of feeds a little bit into this discussion as well. Um, because he says sometimes he's like, that voice that's in your head, that's the consistent chatter in your head, that's sort of making you crazy and making you anxious for the most part, is actually not necessarily you, but it's everything that you've been fed
yes,
since you were a kid. And
yes,
it is all still in there. It's your parents' voices, it's your friends' voices, it's the voice of you when they called you fat on the school bus. It's the it's all of that, and it takes
it
a
really
lot of work to get out of that.
It does, but it's so worth it. And then you catch yourself. You're like, wait a minute, my mind is going there again. And you begin to, witness your thoughts and what's serving you and what's not, and make a better choice. And just unlearn and release those habits because it's just programming, but you don't need to stay there and run from that place and operate from that state of being. So it's totally possible to shift that, but it's not going to happen with one yoga class or one meditation.
Right.
It's not just flipping a switch that easily, but it is
Right.
possible.
Yeah, because they're not just switches that get flipped. They're patterns that have been there for a really extraordinarily long time. We're talking when you're trying to replace the air conditioner that's been sitting in your window for like 10 years that you maybe haven't moved, and you're trying to open that window that might have been painted closed, 3 times in the interim. That's more of what you're dealing with
Yeah,
than just flicking a switch or quickly opening and closing a door to something inside of yourself, right? Um, I just love this work. Tell people how they can get in touch with you.
you can join my Holistic Fertility Coach Facebook group if you are
Link is in the post, by the way. It's in the post.
if you are conceive and want to have a supportive community around you to be on the journey with you. You can always reach out to me as well in any way. I'm happy to just have a conversation because I know that I kept everything inside of me, and that just releasing that and knowing that it was okay and everything didn't have to feel good and perfect all the time, just welcoming all of it and not resisting any part of you. You are perfect as you are is really just, you know, giving yourself that healing and that peace of mind that you are okay and it is going to be okay. And I am actually writing a chapter for a book called The Sacred Dance, full of
Awesome.
authors who are living their soul filled life. So, it was planted with Kundalini Yoga last January as my New Year's thing. And, 1 year it manifests. So, you are the creator of your life. So just step into it.
I know we really, really are. But so many of us do need somebody to help.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
need a guide. We
I would
need people like you.
I wouldn't be where I am without my mentors who, they didn't say, this is what is wrong with you and this is how you need to fix you. It was more of, opening yourself up in your mind and your body and your spirit, and this is what is available to you, and seeing like, oh, that was not working for me, or that was holding me back, and I need to let that go.
Mhm. And then once you do that, then you can see other things.
Yes.
Then you can open up to other things, because a lot of times it's not that we don't have the energy, it's not that we don't have the life, it's not that we don't have this inside of us. We just have stuff in the way.
Yeah.
There's like big boulders in the way. Glennon Doyle has talked about alcoholism as being like that, how she had so much love for everyone around her, but no one else felt that love because they were dealing with her being an asshole alcoholic, right? I've done the same thing through varying times in my life where what was coming out of me was not remotely resembling love or necessarily resembling kindness, but it's not because there wasn't love there that I wanted to put out there, but there were just big boulders and rocks in the way that needed to be cleared.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a journey of getting to know yourself and love yourself, because when you love yourself, that is going to bring this baby, and it's going to be made out of love. So, you know, you just have to sort of stop trying to force it and make it happen, and just surrender to what is.
Right, because basically, something I've learned very late in life that I wish I had learned earlier in life was that I've always tried to control my external surroundings.
Hmm.
And
I think,
for varying reasons, for growing up with mentally ill parents, and basically that was my kind of way of controlling things, was to try to always look at the signs, right? Like, what are the signs that mom's not taking her meds right now? So like shit could blow up any minute, little things like that. And I still do that. I don't do it as much. I'm not hyper aware in that way as much as I used to be, because I've worked really hard to not do that. But if you're, sitting there going, well, what else can I control outside of my life so that I can conceive? That's not a path that's going to work. It's not a path that's going to be literally fruitful. Um, you know, it has to come from inside, and it has to be change that starts inside. And I didn't used to understand that. I used to think that if I only behaved in a certain way or said the right thing or did whatever, that stuff outside would be different.
yes, I think we all have been in that
Never worked.
time, and eventually something happens and you make the switch, and it's like, okay, what do I need? And this is kind of teaching you to listen. What do I need in this day, in this moment? And not doing it from a place of ego, but listening to your soul and what your spirit is telling you, because often we're thinking with our mind and we need to sort of drop into our heart space.
Right. And your mind and your heart are different. They are. And we can close both of them and be really bad. And we see a lot of examples, I think, and we just see a lot of examples in the world of people who have closed it all up. And we
Yeah,
kind of see the havoc that wreaks for all of us. And then we see the folks who are open and who are giving and who are, trying to work on themselves and help the world. And that always looks better and feels better, to me anyway.
absolutely. Even if you think, how is this going to help me? Like, I just invite you to try a piece of it, like try one thing. And absolutely, you will begin when you start to implement these things to see the shifts and changes, and it will change your being. And you realize how you're not the same person anymore. And maybe that person, that served its time and place. And there's a better way to feel, and a better way to live, and a better way to be.
So, everybody, I highly encourage you to get in touch with Ashley. you're either going to go to Facebook and you're going to join her group, which I've linked to in the post to this video. If you're on Instagram, obviously she is on the Instagram live. So you see her handle. You can follow her, DM her, DM her on Instagram or Facebook. She will get in touch with you. And so if you have any questions, want to work any deeper, if you're handling or dealing with infertility right now and would really like to hear of a more natural approach that has actually worked for other women, including Ashley, get in touch with her because she will help you and you will be feeling and functioning a whole lot better after.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you, Ashley, and just kind of hang out for a moment while I end the lives. So everybody, thank you so much for joining me. You're actually going to see me a few times this week in this pre-holiday time because I do take the last week off of every quarter, which is the last week of this month. And so I'm just kind of packing in some lives before I take some time off. So everybody have a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you guys later in the week. Bye.
Holidays.